NFC North division is loaded with cash for the 2025 offseason. So let's discuss how they will spend it and who they will spend it on. In our first installment of Tags, Title, and Resignations. Let's go. The NFL free agency period is right around the corner. We're about a couple weeks away, and even less time for the franchise tag windows to open and for those to be given out. So let's take a quick dive into the NFC North division and our first stop in our series. So this division is the division in the whole entire NFL with the most money going into the free agency period of the 2025 season. So not one team is in the red for 2025. Now, I feel like that speaks volumes to the front offices, how they manage their talent and their draft picks. So this division, mind you, got 3 teams in the playoffs last year. So I would argue that level of success is only going to go up and be even more prominent with the amount of money they have to spend in free agency and how they have drafted and they've picked up people in this last 2 or 3 year cycle. So I think this division might be one of the best divisions in football going forward, and it's just going to be even tougher to mount a divisional victory in this particular gamut of 2025. So man, it should be good. It should be good. So with that being said, let's talk about who in our series, who's going to be tagged, who's going to be given the title of franchise player, and who's going to get 10-day resignation, decide they want to hit free agency or be led to walk in this 2025 cycle that's going to lend them to be on a different team going forward. So starting off with the NFC North division, man, like I said, it is loaded with talent, young, expiring rosters that are just seem to be ascending. It's very telling division, and I think it's going to be a very, very competitive division going forward. So let's talk about who we think is going to get the franchise tag in this division, who may ultimately get the bag, and who ultimately will either resign themselves or get cut or be led to walk so they go to a different team and find their money in a different realm in the NFL in the 2025 season. So let's start with talking about the salary cap in itself, and I alluded to this earlier. So in talking about the money, now the money is substantial in this division. I am highly impressed with how things going with it, how they spending their money in the NFC North division. Now, Alex, everybody has money. We're talking anywhere between $39 to $55 million in cap space for every team. So starting with the Detroit Lions, who has an amazing roster to speak of in its own right, they're coming into the offseason with $43 million in spending money to go into the 2025 season with. And the Minnesota Vikings are even doing better than that with $55.6 million. The Green Bay Packers have $39 million going into the free agency period, and the Chicago Bears have $53.9 million. So it's going to be a lot of money delved out in this division. Now, you would argue that these teams have solid rosters already. Like I said, 3 teams got into the playoffs this past season, and the Bears didn't have Eberflus as their coach. They could have had 4, but that's spilled milk. You're not gonna cry with spilled milk. They got a good guy now, Ben Johnson. So hopefully things turn around. But I just had to throw the more dirt on the grave for Eberflus being gone from Chicago. I mean, preaching it for a year. But anyway, a lot of money being had in this division. Like I said, I think this division has the most money in this entire division to spend in the 2025 offseason. So I would like to argue that a lot of free agents are going to end up in this division. It's just based upon how much money you have to spend. Now, doesn't that mean you have to spend it all? But it's going to be a lot of money to be spent in this particular iteration of free agency. So who do I think, in all honesty, who do I think that, is going to garner the idea maybe they will end up being franchise tag? Who they're going to spend some of this money on to keep? And who ultimately they're going to let walk? And maybe as a bonus trip, we could talk about who maybe a surprise cut. Now, mind you, it's a little bit of a boring division because typically surprise cap casualties, guys that are under contract end up getting cut, are based upon teams that have cap issues. Like you tend to cut guys that have high cap value numbers based upon the fact that they don't want to restructure, and you have cap casualties. You have a cap issue. You're above the cap space. So I would argue that this division doesn't really have that problem. So it might be a little boring in the cap casualty kind of conversation. But I would say that for sure, we're definitely looking at a division that's going to bring in a lot of free agents. I mean, not cut a lot, but it's definitely going to bring in a few. So let's talk about it. So we get into the idea of talking about free agents and high value targets that are there that are up for new contracts. So starting with the Detroit Lions, I think that they don't have much in all honesty. It's not a whole lot of sexy picks, but there's some interesting names here. So they have Tim Patrick coming up on the deal. He's a free agent. Carlton Davis, one of their better corners. They got from Tampa Bay. He's up for a new contract. And then Marcus Davenport, one of their edge rushers, is coming up for a contract. So those three guys are most notable names in this cycle that's going to likely be up for new contracts. Now, question is, what the Detroit Lions going to do with them? Minnesota Vikings, it's in the same breath in a sense. They got Sam Darnold that's on a free agent deal, a 1-year deal that he needs to be resigned, or if they want to bring him back. Dalton Reisner, their shining interior lineman, he's up for a new contract, as well as Brian Murphy, one of their younger, more aspiring slot corners that they have in this particular defense. So they definitely should look at Brian Murphy as being one of the top targets that maybe to potentially bring back. But the Green Bay Packers in an interesting situation as well. Eric Stokes, their solid stud number 2 corner, is up for a new contract. He's dangling out there for the Packers. AJ Dillon, their running back, who's taking the back seat to Josh Jacobs. He was hurt last year, but he's up for a new contract. Will they resign him? And Josh Myers, their center. Their Pro Bowl level center that they had for the last 40 years. They drafted him in the 2nd round. He's up for a new contract. Will they bring him back? I mean, centers are a premium position, so they definitely need to look at it exactly what they're going to figure out what their succession plan would be if they let Josh Myers walk. So what do they do with him? And finally, the Chicago Bears. Keenan Allen and Darrell Taylor are the 2 names that I noticed there were high value targets or assets that could be brought back. Darrell Taylor, especially because, again, he was traded for, I believe, from Seattle. So I think they would like to retain him, being that they had to give up draft capital to get him. I think they would like to retain him, but we'll see. I think it's good, but he's definitely on the list. And Keenan Allen, being an elder statesman, a really good outside receiver, really good route runner, one of the top route runners in the league. I have an affinity for him. That's my guy, former Charger. So he definitely could be a target to be brought back from the Chicago Bears. So the question is, what would they do with these guys, and will they bring them back is the question. So here's my take on it. So when it comes down to who's going to be what and when, I think that, my predictions are for franchise tags. I think that the Lions will ultimately want to resign Carlton Davis a long-term deal. They have the money to do it. But if they can't come to a amicable solution when it comes down to his money and how much he wants to be owed, I think they'll go as far as franchise tagging him to keep him off the market long enough for them to, quote unquote, get a long-term deal done. And if they can't get it done by August or July, August timeframe, then they will likely let him ride on a franchise tag for a year. But I think they value him as a corner. I mean, we've all seen that the Lions have issues at corner in the past. So them getting Carlton Davis and him being solid for them last year, I think they really value his contribution to the team. So I think they would definitely look to keep him from any facet. They're trying to keep him if they can definitely help it. So I definitely say that Carl Davis is high on their Lions list to bring back. So they might dangle him with a franchise tag to begin with if they can't get a long-term deal done, and then they'll work that long-term deal in the background and remove the tag if they can get a long-term deal done. But I do think they want to retain him. And for my money, I think the Vikings really want to consider bringing Sam Darnold back. I think there's some concerns about J.J. McCarthy's development and his weight and his injury. There's been rumors and rumblings about that. So do you bring Sam Darnold back for 1 more year? Maybe franchise tag him just for that 1 year, give him a decent payday, let him, put some more, quality film out there, because let's be honest, those last 2 games he had, although he had a good season, were not great. So you don't want to necessarily leave with the stink of that on you trying to get a new deal. He probably will go to a desperate team right now if he does. So I would argue that maybe bring Sam Darnold back for a year, maybe franchise tag him, give him some Baker Mayfield-like money to bring him in, and allow him to be the quarterback for at least 1 more year while you can get JJ up to speed and ready to go and to the point where he absolutely positively sure you want to keep him, as your franchise quarterback, as you draft him in the 1st round. So the Packers, I think that Eric Stokes is a guy that they want to keep. I think he's, I think there's talking rumors that Jair Alexander wants out. So you got to keep one corner that's going to be a legit guy for you on the outside. So Eric Stokes should be on the radar to sign long-term and maybe do what they do with Carlton Davis and tag him long enough to get that deal done, and then we can move forward. For the Bears, I don't really see anybody that they need a franchise tag. I really don't. I don't think they will whip out a tag for Davenport or Keenan Allen or anybody else for that realm. I don't think they tag anybody this year. I think they waste the money, and I wouldn't call it wasting the money, but I don't think they need to spend the money on a franchise tag to keep somebody. I think they're either pay them or let them walk. Because they don't have a lot of high value free agents that you saw on my list. So I think that they wouldn't franchise Keenan or Darrell Taylor in my opinion. So I think they would definitely roll with no tags if they can, in all possibility. And who they absolutely should resign. I think that the Lions should keep Tim Patrick. I think he was a really good addition to Amon-Ra St. Brown and James Williams' contributions. I think he did well for this team in that offense. So I think they should keep him at a reasonable price. I think the Vikings should keep Brian Murphy, another corner that's highly valuable in their system. I think they should keep Brian Murphy and pay him long-term money to keep him. He's young. He's a good slot corner. And slot corners don't grow on trees. So I think they definitely should do that. The Packers, I think, should keep Josh Myers. Like I said, the center position is very valuable and in a very premium position. You got to have a good center in this league for your O-line to work well. Ask any team in this league that's gone far, they got a good center. So yes, keep Josh Myers if at all possible. Packers, so I definitely would do that. The Bears keep Keenan Allen, that three-headed monster. Roman Dunze, DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen. I will keep him around for a reasonable price as well. Although my heart says I hope he comes back to the Chargers, I do believe that, in all honesty, they should keep Keenan Allen if they can. It will help Caleb Williams' development. He's a really good leader. As far as resignations, I think that the Lions likely will let Marcus Davenport walk. I think the Vikings probably will let Stephon Gilmore walk based upon his age. And I think the Packers will likely let A.J. Dillon walk because they got Josh Jacobs and they got a kid that they drafted in the later rounds in the draft last year that's coming off injury. So I think they'll keep him and allow A.J. Dillon to walk and find better pastures in free agency. And the Bears, I think everybody outside of Darryl Taylor, they're going to walk. So, in all honesty, I think that's definitely how it's going to end for those guys. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But I definitely believe that those are your tags, your re-signs, and your resignations that will likely be the outcome when it comes down to the free agency period in the upcoming season. So let me know in the comments how you feel about this. And always, again, hit that subscribe button to never miss any of these uploads. But as a quick bonus, before we get out of here, I do believe that there's a couple of cap challenges that could happen. I'm not sure they will. I think Jair Alexander is unhappy with the Packers for some reason. I think he wants to be traded. So you could see that happen. He's a very, very, very high cap casualty. They will eat a lot of dead money if they let him go. If they trade him after June 1, he could be less of a punitive move. But if he's unhappy, they may look to trade him. And if the Bears are looking to move on from a linebacker because they want to move up Jack Sanborn and Noah Sewell, Tremaine Edmonds from the Bears could be a cap casualty. But again, these are moves that they don't have to make. These guys are under contract and they were contributors to them and they're high value contributors on their team. So I don't necessarily believe they're going to do it. But yet again, I do believe that, if they decided to move on for them because they're unhappy or they want to elevate another guy that's cheaper, it's a cheaper option to free up some more money, they want to sign somebody else, it could happen. But unfortunately, because there's money in this division, everybody has spending money. I don't think they're going to be a lot of cap casualties. So it's going to be a little bit boring on that front. Guys, when they're in cap hell, are going to be likely the ones that move on, from guys that are, high value cap numbers, have a lot of guaranteed money in their deals. So we'll see how things go. But this is definitely a division that's going to be good for a good while. And I'm going to be excited to see who they sign in free agency, who they bring in. But the guys that you should retain and probably will retain are on the list. So let me know how you feel in the comments about it if you're an NFC North fan. And we'll be back tomorrow with another rendition of Tags, Title, and Resignation. And as always, you need to reach us on social media. Here are the links. But until then, and as always, I am Coach Defense, and you got to step up. So lock it down.